we're gonna get into the quote of the pod. Now, this is usually a section where I like to get into certain topics that kind of like inspire me, and for this pod we're gonna get into Dave Chappelle. So Dave Chappelle dropped a special, well, not a special, but dropped a clip on YouTube called 846, and he gives the meaning of this throughout his set, because I don't want to call it like a comedy sketch or skit, because he's really talking about real life events. And he had this show in Ohio on June 6, 2020. But Dave said he wasn't interested in monetizing, which is why this is on YouTube for everybody to see, and not just on Netflix, which he usually puts his specials on. So for those that's wondering, he's just trying to capitalize off of Black Lives Matter, which I don't think too many people are thinking of that. But for the ones that are, just know that he actually said why he actually explained why he put this on YouTube, and put a donation link to help out people in need in the Bailout Fund Project and in different organizations helping out the Black Lives Matter movement. And he also said that he usually wouldn't show us something so unrefined. Like I'm reading word for word from the details in the YouTube description. He said, but I hope you understand. Well, I hope you understand, to quote it. And so I just want to play a little bit of this clip for y'all, because this is the best, in my opinion, this is the best takeaways that I got from this whole 27 to 28 minute long video. And so we're gonna listen to that right now.
And some money and my keys, all these things, while the earthquake is happening, while I'm experiencing what an earthquake is the first time, and I was certain that I might very possibly die. As a matter of fact, I remember I made a point not to scream, just in case I lived, I wouldn't have to remember myself being vocally terrified. But I forgave myself for being terrified. That earthquake couldn't have been more than 35 seconds. This man kneeled on a man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Can you imagine that?
So for the audio version, as you can hear the passion in Dave Chappelle's voice, he's basically breaking down how long the police officer was on George Floyd's neck before he passed away. And Dave Chappelle compared that to an earthquake that happened for him. It happened for 30 to 35 seconds, and it seemed like he was going to die. But the way he just broke that whole sequence down and how long, and just put it in perspective for people for how long that actually was to have a knee on a man's neck, was very genius in my opinion, and which is why I call Dave Chappelle one of the best comedians ever to do it, because he just breaks down complex topics like these into simple terms for people who don't get it. And he's also had stories on people in the audience saying, so what, get over it, and then he'll tell a whole nother story linking back to the original focus, which is Black Lives Matter, and then he'll end up changing their perspective, or after the show they'll come up to him and ask for a picture. And you can actually look this up on the internet. Dave Chappelle does that a lot throughout his show, so he's really influential in that matter, and actually changes people's opinions on what they have to say about the Black Lives Matter movement, because not a lot of people understand, but then again, not a lot of people try to understand. So let's get into the second part of this, which I thought was pretty impactful. And the reason I'm not talking, not pausing and talking while the video's playing, is because, for copyright reasons, to put these clips out on YouTube, I'm going to have to cut these parts out. So I just rather not talk in the middle of them and just wait to the end to break down what we're hearing / listening to. I'm going to play the other part I thought was pretty impactful right quick.
He called for his mother. He called for his dead mother. I've only seen that once before in my life. My father, on his deathbed, called for his grandmother. When I watched that tape, I understood this man knew he was gonna die.
So those two clips right there, I thought was the best out of the whole video, but I would recommend you to go watch that special because it really breaks down why people are acting the way they are and makes you kind of have empathy for the people protesting and going out their way to bring light to the subject. Because a lot of people will say, oh, they're rioting, so they should get locked up. But a lot of people are peacefully protesting, and it's kind of like the saying, you always focus more on the negative than the positive. Like if you put something out and somebody says 10 positive things about you, but then somebody says one negative thing about you, you're most likely going to give more energy to the one negative comment than you are the 10 positive comments that was said before that. And that's just how people are. And once you realize that that's how life goes, you will start to change your energy and not give it to negative things and focus more on the positive. Because once you figure out that people focus more on the negative than the positive, if you do the opposite, your life will be, you will be happier, in my opinion. Like life will be easier to go through because you can't please everybody. And Dave Chappelle talked on that. He talked throughout this video, he talked about a couple other people on TV talking bad on Black Lives Matter and basically tried to break down why they were wrong about what they said. And the way he said it was definitely in a Dave Chappelle way, a rated R type way. I probably played the most PG clips throughout this whole thing, but he definitely gave his Dave Chappelle take on those people who were ignorant to the situation. So yeah, that's the quote of the pod. Dave Chappelle definitely did that. And Dave Chappelle is always one of those that really wows not even us, but just comedians, like his peers. It's kind of like he's like the LeBron of comedians. Whenever he performs, even his peers are amazed. And so just for that, I had to give a cheers to Dave Chappelle. Like Dave Chappelle really did that. So I really appreciate when comedians come out and talk about heavy matters, because they don't really have to. Like the comedians, they could joke about it, but Dave Chappelle did a straight up video of just explaining it with a little jokes mixed in between, but it really was more like a church sermon than a comedy sketch. So yeah, always understand that Dave Chappelle is not required to talk about these instances, which is why it puts him on another level than other comedians.